That would have been good live.
I I spoke I have been aspiring to use this format. Well, really
Can you
the
talk a
format
bit
is
louder?
okay. Just a
You've been
moment.
you've been aspiring for what?
To basically to use the
Huh?
format of Varnasrama Dharma to with the fuse it with this freedom cell concept where the community can become independent of the state and you have their own
So what
infrastructure.
is
And
freedom cell?
freedom cell means like it's something that was developed by a journalist named Derek Rose and an activist named John Bush from Austin. But it's basically you form groups, so like 8 people or 8 families, and you try to establish a community, a village or a community type setting where everyone it's like an agora, and there's like open market, free market, counter economics, and they use like a counter economy where the idea is to starve the centralized bank system and the state out of
So in other means, you grow your own sheep and slaughter
right.
them. You should grow your own goats and slaughter them without going to the market to get the meat.
Well, no, the idea is most like Derek Bros. He basically eats plants,
Huh?
So some people my goal is to reach as many people as I can in the freedom so that they can take up this process of Varnashram Dharma, and
They start out with
give up
slaughtering
slaughter.
animals on their community and then move away from it later, or what?
Well, I don't know what everybody else is going to do, but my goal is to teach as many people as possible the benefits, basically the glories of Varnashram Dharma, and so that they can see how easy it is to live in coexistence with all beings without having to take any of their lives or exploit them in any way, just then protect cows.
So you can actually customize the village to be a vegetarian one.
Yeah, that's my goal, is to form a cell where people are like on board with this process. And so far me and Matthew are working to find like farmland or like a land. Really, we want to set up a center, bhakti center, that people can come and actually learn bhakti without like a ceiling effect that is created by modern day ISKCON. You can't make very much advancement if you're following Kanishta Adhikaris and they have lower Vedic standards, or non-existent sometimes.
Exactly. So you see, what we're doing here with the League for 10K is to expand Prabhupada's ISKCON and restore Prabhupada's ISKCON so that it is no longer going against Prabhupada's actual teachings.
Right.
So, but it sounds like your idea is nice, except it will not probably be that inclusive of ISKCON.
Well, like anybody who's willing to give up that, we generally don't want to. You want to form, if you're going to form like a permanent sort of situation and community, you want to find people like pretty much in alignment with, have the same values and on the same path.
So how will you deal with the theological side? Will you be able to install Lord Jagannath as the deity of your community?
Okay. That is what it's hoped for, at least Nitai Goda.
Well, but I mean, you can't start the community and then install Lord Jagannath afterwards. That people would feel you were imposing on them. Right.
Okay. I
still. So you have to do that from the beginning.
Up until that point, I'm still in a learning process and have to
Oh, yeah.
figure out
Okay,
all the
that's fair,
logistics
fair
and
enough.
learn exactly what all needs to be implemented, what steps need to be taken, and little by little work to try to complete those goals so that, the process can make advancement. But and like, say if by taking you guys association, I can, get your perspective and learn more about, Vedic standards and be able to implement that
That's
properly.
a very nice idea.
So
I
the goal is to
belong
create
to,
like a
in the
center here. And
1960s, believe it or not, I belonged to some agricultural communes, and the nature of those communes was, probably 30% vegetarian. But I wasn't a vegetarian back then, so it didn't bother me one way or the other. We had gardens and we grew vegetables for the whole community. About 70 people, and 70 people could live off a garden that was only like 20 feet wide and 80 feet long,
You said you lived on a commune, or you helped organize a commune?
This was in Santa Cruz, California. It's sort of like around less than a year. Back then, time moved quickly. It was like less than a year from when I became initiated by Prabhupada.
I see. So you kind of like sort of had some idea or some experience, really, a glimpse at what, I guess, like community living.
You got to remember that I was born and raised on a 10-acre farm way out in the boonies where there wasn't anybody else around.
Yeah.
So in terms of farming, we lived off the land. That's all we had. We didn't have a choice.
I see.
But we weren't even remotely vegetarian. So that's a whole other thing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so far as the soul goes along, yes. One second. Like as soul is learning, because becomes introduced.
I'm sorry?
As the soul becomes introduced to bhakti, and then we can use its previous experience before to integrate,
Exactly. That's
systems.
a very intelligent comment. Yes. Whatever you learn, wherever you learn, just like I was raised on a very non-vegetarian farm, but the things I learned were quite useful to being vegetarian, particularly since we had extensive gardening that we irrigated, used our own chicken manure from our own chickens to fertilize it. So it was all, the word organic hadn't been invented yet. J.I. Rodale invented the word organic. He was the father of Robert Rodale. The guy was very into survival, existence, and stuff.
Right. What all have you guys been covering, or I'm curious what progress you have made in establishing Varnasrama. I'm curious what all progress you guys have made and attaining land, or really just all in general organizing Varnasrama.
Well, we're working on it.
The
first thing that I feel that we have to do for Varnasrama is to establish a structure establish how it would run, assure people that there wouldn't be any, caste prejudice or anything like that, because everyone in Varnasrama would be a initiated devotee.
Yeah,
the level of everybody else.
caste prejudice is a product of imperialism.
I'm sorry?
The caste caste prejudice is a product of imperialism.
It's a product of the British.
Yeah. So it's not, there's not actually
the
discrimination going on.
Had nothing to do with the British.
Yeah, exactly. They were like,
the British used their own style of caste system, which is very
a lot of it was based on the shade of people's skin.
Well, not just that, but on the lineage.
Right.
It's called Burke's Book of Peerage, which gives you a clear hierarchical understanding of. It gives you a clear hierarchical standing of who is who in terms of nobility. So it's all how to deal with nobility. So the British took that and took the Varnasrama system and turned it into what they called the caste system. And the Hindus, of course, picked up the word caste from the British because, let's be frank, they had no choice.
Yeah, a lot of Indians like really forgot what the actual nature of Varnasrama Dharma was, and they adopted this system of the caste system, which is discriminative and prejudice.
The British created the caste system such as we know it today. But did you know when the Hindus or the Indians started giving up their cultural understanding of the Varnas and Ashramas? 400 years ago. So
really?
Consider that every 20 years, a new crop of kids grow up. So you can see that in divide 400 times 20 times 5, and you'll see that everything is pretty much destroyed after just a couple of centuries, what to speak of, many centuries.
Yeah. Is it the reason why they started really losing touch with Varnashram? That was on account of the Muslim imperialists?
Well, that was less. The Muslims sort of let the Hindus do their own thing for the most part. They would conquer them in war, but the Muslims never tried to force the Hindus to become Muslims. The British wanted to force the Indians to become Christians, but the Muslims never did that because the Muslims didn't care. The Muslims just wanted land, power, slaves, and whatnot.
Resource.
As long as they had enough stuff to keep their own lifestyle going, they weren't interested in a moral superiority task force to destroy the Hindu or Vedic culture. They had no reason to do it.
And I was wondering what you
but
said.
When the British came, it was totally different.
You mentioned before that the Indian people society began losing touch with Varnashram Dharma. Why was that? 400 years ago, you said.
Well, because the British destroyed it for them.
Well, I mean, like you mentioned 400 years ago.
Turned them into menial servants. They also took Brahmins and put them in the military, which was, of course, a great honor to have a big role and be a powerful man in the British Indian Army. But to be in the British Indian Army, you had to drink alcohol and you had to eat meat. What to speak of eggs and everything. So here these Brahmins needed the prestige of being in the British Army, Indian British Army. They needed the prestige, but to get that prestige, they became untouchables in their Brahmin homes. In the event that they went back to visit their families would take the dishes they ate off them, no matter what they were made of, and throw them in the trash because they'd become untouchables.
Well,
Krishna Balaram Swami makes a point out of it too, that there's a big difference between a person like himself, who never broke any of the regular principles, or so he says, we're just still checking out from birth, to, going to the becoming devotees. So they took these Brahmins who had never touched wine or meat or eggs or even things that were not offered to Krishna. And that was the condition that they used to have to follow. And on more than one occasion, as pointed out, there was Vishwanath Chakravarti. We know Chakravarti is a very, very saintly name. Vishwanath Chakravarti, it's like a distinguished saintly name. The British took people named Chakravarti from their distinguished Brahminical families, turned them into servants, and changed the name, which you probably heard, from Chakravarti to Chatterjee. Chatterjee is just an insult name. It has nothing to do with anything pious. So because they took these men with holy names and took away their culture, so that when the British finished, they left behind sort of a destitute situation. And the Muslims, for all of the horrors that they brought to India, didn't do that to the Hindus as much. Because the Hindus still had their own kings, you see. The Indians had their own kings. So inside of the kingdom, they all followed the ancient rules. And then next door might be a Muslim king, and they would follow his rules there. But when it came down to the British destroyed all the kingdoms and controlled them with bribes, exotic imports, forced conversion, everything. So that's why we have to be careful.
I think we should.
Fortunately, Lord Chaitanya, when he said there's no hard and fast rules for chanting the holy name of Krishna, as far as I can see, he did not preclude persons from non-Brahminical families becoming devotees.
So we can start reading some of this. We were talking about Varnasrama and what Prabhupada has said. So this wonderful book called Varnasrama, compiled by, I guess, the BBT devotees, and I'm sharing it on the screen.
Is there any way you can turn up your speaking volume a bit?
My speaking volume is low for everyone, or just for Narayan?
Well,
I hear you loud and clear.
Now it's loud.
Yeah, I hear.
But it was low for Narayan.
Okay. How about now? Is this better? Same
Perfect.
thing? Okay.
Excellent.
All right. So this is the book called Varnashram Dharma, compiled by,
Hari Krishna Devidasi.
yes, and Sureshwara.
Which
Compiled
Devidasi?
by Hari Krishna Devidasi.
Oh, I don't know who she is.
Was killed by a Gandharva, and that
Okay, Mohit has something going on in his background. Please mute yourself.
Does anyone know who Hari Krishna Devidasi is?
Yeah, she's a Prabhupada disciple, and her son did a very successful project for self-sufficiency in Africa. He took a group of
he's
ragtime.
that one, huh?
Huh?
We studied his life, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. He took a group of ragtag poor Africans who were willing to work, and they made a whole village with huge abundant crops. And they used irrigation systems that they made themselves, and they built adobe brick structures to live in, and it's called Working Villages International. And if you see the video on YouTube, it's totally inspiring.
Wow. When did they do this?
I know it's incredible. You saw it, I saw it. I think maybe we even saw it together at one point, right?
Yeah, he
TV.
This was, I'm gonna guess, 10 years ago, maybe.
Oh,
At
wow.
least, yeah. Now the question that I would have is she with the GBC, or is she independent, or is she Prabhupada Nuga?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh, okay. It doesn't matter. I mean, if she knows the stuff, she knows the stuff.
Right.
What people do about it is up to them.
Right. Okay, so we can start reading. Rupa Manjari Prabhu, are you okay?
I'm ready when you are, but I could.
You want me to
if
read?
you were a little,
Yes.
little louder.
Okay. Why is Varnashram important? Srila Prabhupada explains that Varnashram Dharma is the only system of social organization which enables a person of any class to discharge his occupational duty as a form of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thus fulfilling the ultimate goal of life. Here it is clearly stated that there are many types of Jagya performances recommended in the Vedic literatures, but actually all of them are meant for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Jagya means Vishnu. In the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that one should only work for satisfying Jagya or Vishnu. The perfectional form of human civilization known as Varnashram Dharma is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu.
Try.
Bhagavad Gita 9:24.
That's pretty impeccable. Oh, is that her writing or Prabhupada's?
Prabhupada's.
Ah, no wonder.
It's Bhagavad Gita 9:24 purport.
Oh, great.
Let's continue reading, Prabhu.
Okay. O best amongst the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation, according to caste divisions and orders of life, is to please the personality of Godhead.
Try.
Purport. Human society all over the world is divided into 4 castes and 4 orders of life. The 4 castes are the intelligent caste, the martial caste, the productive caste, and the laborer caste. These castes are classified in terms of one's work and qualification and not by birth. Then again, there are 4 orders of life, namely the student life, the householder life, the retired, and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be such divisions of life. Otherwise, no social institution can grow in a healthy state. And in each and every one of the above-mentioned divisions of life, the aim must be to please the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. This institutional function of human society is known as the system of Varnashram Dharma, which is quite natural for the civilized life.
Try.
The Varnashram institution is constructed to enable one to realize the absolute truth. It is not for artificial domination of one division over another. It is not for artificial domination of one division over another. When the aim of life, i.e., realization of the absolute truth, is missed by too much attachment for indriya priti, or sense gratification, as already discussed herein before, the institution of the Varnashram is utilized by selfish men to pose an artificial predominance over the weaker section. In the Kali Yuga, or in the age of quarrel, this artificial predominance is already current, but the saner section of the people know it well that the divisions of castes and orders of life are meant for smooth social intercourse and high thinking, self-realization, and not for any other purpose. Herein the statement of Bhagavatam is that the highest aim of life, or the highest perfection of the institution of the Varnashram Dharma, is to cooperate jointly for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-13.
Wow, amazing. Maybe the last paragraph, Prabhu, Manjari Prabhu, and then we can have a discussion. This last one.
Sure.
That shows that there's many different angles to approach Varnashram,
Yes.
Daivavanashram.
The
And for
distinction
different
between
purposes.
No, Prabhu. Let her complete, then we'll have a discussion. She's
No,
gonna
I'm not
complete.
discussing, I'm just pointing that out.
Okay. Yes.
the distinction between human life and animal life therefore begins with the scientific system of Varna and Ashrama, guided by the experience of the sages in relation with the demigods, gradually rising to the summit of reestablishing our eternal relation with the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 16th Chapter, Text 31, purport.
Jai. No, Prabhu. Anything you
Oh,
want to
no,
say?
I was,
Okay.
that's fine.
So, Prabhupada here, just by reading his books, he gives a clear definition of what exactly is Varnashram to satisfy Lord Vishnu according to whatever position one is in right now, either Brahmana, Kshatriya,
Yeah,
Vaishya.
natural position.
Yeah, natural position, which is acquired.
Because we have Brahmins, they're called college professors.
Yes,
We have Kshatriyas,
Kshatriya?
they're called the military.
yes.
We have
Vaishyas,
Vaishyas, they're called agribusiness. And
Right.
we have laborers, they're Shudras, they're called laborers. So it's not as though anything is different, but in the case of the human society today, with this whole Horatio Alger mentality that the lowest can become the highest, people are struggling all to become Rockefellers or big shot businessmen without having any respect for what they can do comfortably at their point of origin.
right.
So a farmer wants to become a Wall Street broker. It becomes all very tangled up
Yes,
without any value to human society. So our goal is to let pick up all of them as though they have little special magnets on them, pick them up, shake them all out, and you'll see a pyramid with the intelligentsia at the top, the Kshatriyas down the line to protect the society, the Vaishyas to represent the belly, and the Shudras to represent the legs. And I proposed, and I would like to see that actually happen, that we get someone, probably in Puri, to paint a large painting of Lord Jagannath with legs, meaning when he comes back from Rath Yatra, he is in trouble with Lakshmi, and he has these golden leg bands. So he will have these golden leg bands, those are the Shudras. Then you put the waist, which tends to be plump in the case of Lord Jagannath, so they say at the temple. And that waist is the Vaishyas, arms Shudras, head Brahmins, so no one should feel that one is better than the other. I mean, wouldn't it be ridiculous if we said, we want to eliminate Shudras? Clunk, there's a person sitting on the stumps of his legs. How is that person going to function without legs? They say we want to be pacifists, so chop, we take off his arms. Where's the practicality, the utility, or even the sanity of such a plan? So Dharma simply means to restore people to what they like to do and what they're good at.
very simply put, right.
Exactly.
Prabhupada also states a point here that I'll read it. Then again, there are four orders of life, namely the student life, the householder life, and the retired and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be such divisions of life. Otherwise, no social institution can grow in a healthy state. That's what's going on. It's not growing at a healthy state, even in
Well, to do that, you need families.
yes, and
Right now, the whole idea is the nuclear family, meaning husband, wife, and children living in an apartment. They have no future.
exactly.
Their only hope is that their children, who are very burdensome to them when the children are until they're 18, will eventually go off to college or get married or something. And then you can retire in your one-bedroom apartment again.
One bedroom apartment.
All you need is a big house with many generations. You know? And that's what they had. So you have, like your house, Ramachandra,
Right.
you have grandfather, grandmother, uncles, cousins, nephews,
Yes.
and they're all living together. So as they grow up, they've developed their own independent expertise. And when
Yes.
they have their own independent expertise, that's when the parents can take Vanaprastha
Right. Yes.
and travel to holy places, etc. And then after Vanaprastha, sannyas, or even a very rich man living in a palatial house, a rich man living in a palatial house will leave the palatial house and live like a mendicant in
Right.
a place like Vrindavan.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in the past, I've discussed that I was going by a house that I pitied, this broken down hut of stone with no glass in the windows. This old man, probably in his 90s, was sitting there with unshaved, a lot of beard, wearing ratty looking clothes. And I was thinking, boy, here I am, a rich American. Why don't I come in and with workers and materials and fix his place up and make it very nice? I was thinking like that, I'm afraid to say, for several years. Every time I went to go to Loi Bazaar is on the left-hand side. The Mathura, Tonga is going to Mathura are on the right-hand side. And he was right in the middle, right on that point. One day I came there and I saw limos parked in a semicircle in front of his hut. Limos. And he, instead of looking like a little person about to leave his body, was sitting upright on the porch step with his finger in the air, exerting an aura of absolute authority. And
Wow.
in front of him were all these descendants of his in expensive Western suits, sitting on the dirt of Vrindavan with their shoes off, and wearing their socks and with their shoes off, listening to him, because apparently they had run into a management structure problem, which they had to disturb the renounced life of father, grandfather, great-grandfather, whatever he was, to resolve. And no one else could resolve it. So he could have told them all to go to hell, because I say, I don't renounce, you solve it. But he didn't. He sat there and gave them presumably sage advice. And then he went back to living the way he did before.
You saw that with your own eyes? Or is it a story?
No, I saw it with my own eyes.
Wow.
Over a period of years, maybe over 3 years.
Chai.
But the amazing thing is, we can only imagine that when that man was in his 50s, he must have wearing silk kurtas, silk Nehru jackets with gold buttons, expensive shoes, handmade, polished by servants, eating off of marble table with gold or silver dishes to eat from. And when he took sannyas, or he became a Babaji, whatever it was he did, then he lived like a absolute mendicant, had no relationship to any past wealth. no ring on his finger or no necklace, nothing, just zero. He became a Brajavasi. So that just is, I said that. I said that for the sake of our conversation. Vanaprastha and sannyas come after Grihastha. So Grihastha meant his children will grow up, his grandchildren will grow up. Now it's the time for his spiritual life to reach its fruition. But that can't happen if you're living in a one-bedroom apartment. That can only happen if you have a space with maybe a dozen or 2 dozen people or 3 dozen people living on 3 floors, 4 floors. Women cooking sumptuously in the kitchen, servants cleaning the pots and cleaning the building. Everybody offering their deepest respects to one another according to their age and distinction. And that is what the British do in England, but they destroyed it in India. That's all I need to say right now. Are we okay?
Yeah.
Am I muted?
No.
Oh. So what's
Okay,
happening?
Jai. Okay, another point here is the distinction between human life and animal life therefore begins with the scientific system of Varna and Ashram, and guided by the experience of the sages in relation with the demigods, gradually rising to the summit of re-establishing our eternal relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So I would like to point out, guided by the experience of the sages.
Guided by what?
Guided by the experience of the sages.
Sages.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, how else are you going to have a family that doesn't just turn into a bunch of jerks like the kings in the Western world, cheating on each other, incest, destroying each other's lives, beheading each other. I mean, that's what they were doing. King Henry, all the English kings, were European kings, were monsters. So they had to have Brahminical supervision to become virtuous.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So that's what I was saying, that Prabhupada is that sage here in our League for 10K. And that's why we're discussing around his books and him being the, Siksha and Diksha Guru. Anyone can write like this? Let's see it. What have they written? Bring it to the table. Any guru watching there online, let's see what you have written and how you're going to explain the scientific system of Varna and Ashram. I don't think it has been written by anyone but Srila Prabhupada. Now, Narayan Prabhu, has any of your God brothers written like this, the systematic scientific standard of this Varna and Ashram?
Not that I'm aware of. I've been looking at the those books, Make Vrindavan books, and they're very clumsy by comparison.
Yes.
But then again, they're not quotes from Prabhupada.
Right. And actually, some of these things, I guess it was present during Srila Prabhupada's time, right? Or he saw it in his...
like what?
Like the Brahmins, the Vaishnavas, being present,
I saw it.
Yeah, you saw it, right? So...
Yeah, I would go to dinner with Prabhupada and his disciples to the homes of, if you knew Birla is one of the very richest men in the world.
Right.
And they would treat us very, very nobly. Normally, they would not, if we'd go there as hippies, they wouldn't have allowed us anywhere to between 100 yards of their house.
Right.
But because we came dressed in dhotis, bathed, tilak, with Prabhupada, they brought us in as honored guests.
Yes. Amazing, right?
I could see it
Jai.
in 1971, 72. by 1975 and later, it was practically non-existent.
Uh, okay, anyone want to share their realizations, Prabhus? Rupa Manjari Prabhu, Andrananda Prabhu, Mohit Prabhu? We've just read a couple of pages from Why is Varnashram Important? Srila Prabhupada describing the importance of Varnashram. Feel free to unmute and share your realizations, or we'll continue to read.
By the way, after taking such pains to offer a warm and equality-based invitation to Vashish, where is Vashish?
Well,
Yes,
when he comes, then we'll discuss with him. Otherwise, we
Yes,
continue
no.
with our business.
I was going to say this only because it has been too much of history.
We're reading Prabhupada's books, so he should join in the adventure.
Yeah, he's always saying to read them, so that's what we're doing.
You can just ask him again to join and just.
You ask him. I'm moderating this meeting here. You do that service.
Okay. I'm asking. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rupa Manjari Prabhu, we can continue reading.
Yeah. Okay. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, continued. My dear King Prithu, when one situated in his occupational duty engages in my loving service without motive for material gain, he gradually becomes very satisfied within. Purport. This verse is also confirmed by the Vishnu Puran. Occupational duties are known as Varnasrama Dharma and apply to the 4 divisions of material and spiritual life, namely Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. If one works according to the Varnashram Dharma system and does not desire fruitive results, he gets satisfaction gradually. Discharging one's occupational duty as a means of rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 20th chapter, text number 9. Prithu Maharaj's sole aim in ruling his kingdom was to raise the citizens to the standard of God consciousness. In the Vishnu Puran, it is said that the entire Varnashram institution is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The rules and regulations set up for the execution of the duties of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, or Brahmachari, Grihastas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis, are all meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. At the present moment, although the so-called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras have lost their original culture, they claim to be Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras by birthright. Yet they have rejected the proposition that such social and spiritual orders are especially meant for worship of Lord Vishnu. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Yataha pravritir bhutanam jena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha. Quote, by worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, man can, in the performance of his own duty, attain perfection. The absolute truth is therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and every living being is meant to satisfy the Supreme Godhead by performing his respective duty. Swa karmana tam abhyarchya. Maharaj Prithu wanted to introduce this formula amongst his citizens. The most important point in human civilization is that while one engages in different occupational duties, he must try to satisfy the Supreme Lord by the execution of such duties. That is the highest perfection of life. Swanus titasya dharmasya samsiddhir hari toshanam. By discharging one's prescribed duty, one can become very successful in life if he simply satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The vivid example is Arjuna. He was a Kshatriya, his duty was to fight, and by executing his prescribed duty, he satisfied the Supreme Lord and therefore became perfect. Everyone should follow this principle. Why don't we try to find some texts that deal specifically with Varnashram and talk about it like breaking it down what it is in
Okay.
terms of farming and self-sufficiency.
Okay, we can do that.
But
Go
take
ahead.
into account the Daiva Varnashram is specifically for Kali Yuga. It does not have anything to do with past yugas. Now, even this writing that Prabhupada has, talking about Varnashram Dharma designed to satisfy the personality of Godhead, that wasn't the specific purpose of Varnashram Dharma at the time Arjuna was there. The purpose of the Varnashram Dharma was to fulfill the duties of the Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and they could do that with or without having any understanding of the personality of Godhead. But in this age, Prabhupada wants the Dharma, the Varnashram Dharma, to include and be actually centered around the pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, Varnashram Dharma, even without people thinking of Krishna much or often, will please Krishna because it's his system and it works and it makes human society better than it is if they're just barbarians, which we're living in the middle of right now. But but in terms of being consciously involved in pleasing Krishna, the Varnashram that we have to deal with is the Varnashram starting with Kanista Adigari, then Madhyama Adigari, then Uttama Adigari.
Rupa Manjari Prabhu, you suggested something very specific. So what keywords do you want to give me so I can put it in here? So
Maybe farming, self-sufficiency.
okay, I put farming here, and in the Varnashram book here, let's see, farming. It comes up.
Well, this has to do with ISKCON farm communities.
So regarding this,
We're the first people to call it Varnashram Dharma. Prabhupada came up with the term Daiva Varnashram Dharma, but we're the only people that are actually dealing with it as a reality. There's nothing in the Bhagavad Gita nor in any of the Shastras that will let you know how to create a Daiva Varnashram Dharma community.
Okay.
Now that has to be developed according to the time, place, and circumstance.
Okay, here is Prabhupada talking about farming. Maybe from Manjari Prabhu, you want to read this paragraph?
Sure.
This paragraph right here.
But Prabhupada also realizes that people living in the modern world may have become so far out of contact with the natural lifestyle demonstrated by Krishna that they are afraid to move to a simpler way of life. He notes that even the farmers' sons have left farming. Therefore, in Vrindavan, he proposes a Varnashram college that will teach not only spiritual knowledge, but also practical skills as to how to give protection to the cows, how to till the field and grow food. Leaders will be taught how to properly protect their citizens and provide them with training, land, and appropriate occupations.
So that's one instance of farming coming up in the introduction.
Yeah, so where is that quote taken from?
I think this is an introduction by, let's see, it's introduction by the author or someone. Let's see where we
Very important that we always know, otherwise people can knock us out of the water.
It is by this Hare Krishna Devi Dasi, and she has written the introduction.
He wrote it, or Prabhupada wrote it?
No, she wrote it.
Huh?
She wrote it. She's not quoting anyone there, but she's saying that Prabhupada is saying
so we
that.
understand this is not Prabhupada's writing, but it's her writing, and it's right on target, but it's still not his writing, but hers.
Yeah. Okay.
so there's one issue,
Huh?
doubt on that. I have
No.
a doubt.
Yes, go ahead, Mohit. What's your doubt?
So in this regards, once Prabhupada said that everyone is a Shudra in this category, right? When we talk about all these Shudras, Vaishnavas, so he specifically said that everyone is a Shudra in this Kali Yuga, right? So come on that stage of what we're talking about, farming and all, how could someone come to that stage when everyone is a Shudra? So how is that possible? And I want a more elaborative answer on that, right? Because he specifically said that everyone is a Shudra, and to overcome that, what are your views on that? Yeah.
So, Rupa Manjari Prabhu, can you
Yes.
answer that?
I'm sorry, I spaced out. What was the question?
Mohit Prabhu is saying that Prabhupada has said in Kali Yuga everyone is born a Shudra, and
Yeah.
then Mohit Prabhu, can you elaborate more to your question? How? Mohit Prabhu.
I just wanted your views, like when he says that you can go in a Varnasrama or you can go for a Grihastha, when he said it that specifically that everyone is a Shudra, right?
Yes.
So how to come on that platform and
So
how to
you're
overcome
saying
that?
how
Yeah.
you're saying how can people be at a different level if Prabhupada said that they're all Shudra? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, of course. And what are your views on that? Yeah, please.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's saying that the society is a Shudra society, but if we apply the Vedic principles, we can rise to a higher level of functioning and consciousness.
And we actually do.
Jai.
Because even though, as I mentioned earlier, even though everyone is Shudra, we do have laborers, we do have college professors, we do have
Yeah.
military men.
So how do we
all
differentiate?
Shudras. They're all
So how
Shudras,
do we
but
differentiate?
they
Yeah.
gravitate within the category of Shudra to the top to the bottom of the Shudra scale. Nobody is born a Brahmin in this day and age that I'm aware of.
So Mohit is asking for a clarification. Go ahead, Mohit Prabhu.
I'm just asking that how do we differentiate, right? Because he said it, everyone is a Shudra, whether you're doing a business or whether you're a Brahmin, you're not a proper Brahmin, right? In this Kali Yuga, everyone has
We're not talking about caste Brahmins. We're not talking about knowing your Gotra from the Prajapatis coming
Okay.
down from the beginning of creation of the universe. We're talking
Okay.
about person's propensity for action.
There you go.
Nobody is going to be born a Brahmin.
So then why is Gotras made and why is if someone is born and brought up at a place of a very big temple, he's the pujari, he's the main pujari there, no? So why is that then? Then why is the
Because-
karma coming into
Because
picture and he's
they are
born and
left
brought up
over
there?
from the last yuga. We're in this yuga. They're not. They're still living out the tail end of the Dwarpa Yuga. We're in the early stages of Kali Yuga.
So, for example, if someone is born and brought up like
Trust
Pake
me.
Bihari, right?
Mohit Prabhu, trust me, in even 100 or 200 years, you will no longer find any Brahmins.
Mohit is Mohit,
I
look
totally
at
get your point. True,
Because
I
they
totally
will
get your
all be
point. But by
they'll
birth,
all be diluted
birth-
out. All the Brahmins are becoming IT professionals.
yeah. But if I'm born and brought up at Baki Bihari, right? Like for example, the pujari there, I'm his son, right? Main son. So according to Prabhupada, they are also Shudras because they're not going in the proper way. But according to Varnas and all, I'm born and
And
brought
once
up.
they're being
I'm
properly trained as
formally a Brahmin.
Brahmins, then they're not Brahmins. You know what that is referred to by Prabhupada is Dvijabandhu. Dvijabandhu means related to Brahmins, but not qualified.
What was the word,
Any-
Prabhu? Please come again.
Dvija Bandhu.
Dvijabandhu. Okay.
Dvija means
Twice born.
and Bandhu
Okay.
means bound to or like rubber band, but it means related to or in that group or in that cluster.
Okay.
So believe it or not, I had the funny experience in back 1971. I think I was taking the narrow gauge railway
Please go ahead.
from
Please go ahead.
Calcutta to Mayapur, and I'm sitting there chanting japa, shaved head, white robe, chadar, the whole works. And there's this guy standing in the doorway who didn't want to sit down with the ordinary people like me or anybody else for that matter. They're all basically shooters. And he was looking very, very, what you call, looking down his nose as though he were very important and no one else were. So all the Shudras on the train are smoking, bidis, right? Bidi smoking?
Yeah.
You-
It's an Indian
Bidi?
form of Cigarette. Desi
little
cigarette. Yeah, yeah.
cigarettes with a string around it. Yeah, they were all smoking bidis. This guy with his grand hair, beautiful dhoti and kurta, pale skin, he was standing there smoking Will's a filter tip cigarette, Will's filter flake. So I thought I would have a little fun with him. Are you there? Mohit? Are you gone?
I'm listening. Please go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right.
Prabhu, I
That's
can
your
hear you
photograph.
totally clearly.
Okay, so
My
yeah,
camera
so
is
I
gone.
thought I'd have a little fun, and I looked at him with great awe and reverence, and I folded my hands respectfully, and I said, "Excuse me, sir." He looks at me. Yes. The thing speaks. He was in his tone of voice that the thing on the chair speaks. Oh, interesting. And I said, "Sir, may I ask you a question?" His eyes shot up. How does the thing want to ask questions, meaning me? And I said, "Are you by any chance, sir, could I ask, are you perhaps," I said hesitantly like that, "are you perhaps a Brahmin?" He looked at me with complete astonishment. He says, "How did you," what? He looked at me and he couldn't resist. He said, "Well, what made you ask that question?" I said, "That's very easy. Because if you're a Shudra, you'd be smoking bidis. But you're a Brahmin, so you're smoking Will's filter flake cigarette." It was as though I hit him on the face with a 2x4, as though I hit him with my fist in the face. He was completely smacked down. Because he knew that I knew that Brahmins are not supposed to smoke at all. Not that you distinguish a Brahmin because he has an expensive Will's filter tip cigarette, Will's filter flake cigarette with a filter on it, What do you think of that, Prabhu? Mohit Prabhu?
So,
And I don't doubt that he was from a Brahminical family.
So your point is that by actions, I totally get your point that by actions, people should be treated as
Oh.
Brahmanas or Shudras or Vaishnava.
Anyone from a pure Vaishnava, of a Brahmin family today would say,
Yes.
you cannot be a Brahmin if you have ever tasted alcohol, tasted tobacco smoke, if you've ever eaten anything that was improperly prepared. There's a million things you can't do if you're born in a Brahmin family, if you want to
Yes.
retain your Brahmin caste and not
Yes.
lose it by polluting your lineage.
So that lineage he's got through his karmas, right? So I need to understand this. I need to have your views on this, that if someone's previous karma, that is also his actions only, no? His actions only. That's why he's born and brought up.
I'm sorry.
Next
I
life he
can't-
got. Hello.
I can't understand.
So I'm saying this I mean his sanchit karmas, right? We have sanchit karmas. According to that, we are born and brought up at a parent's family, right? Like for example, Prabhupada must have been a super pure devotee. That's why he was born. His parents always wanted him to become a devotee, right?
Well,
Or
that's
if
if you've
you're
come
born-
across a pure devotee in Kali Yuga after Lord Chaitanya. If you come across a pure devotee before Lord Chaitanya, you're finished. You don't get any benefit from that pure devotee if you're a Brahmin who is not following the Brahminical standard.
What's your question, Mohit Prabhu? You're talking about the janma of a person in a lineage
Yes.
or in a Brahminical family?
Yes, exactly. My point is to where do we link this up? Like his previous karmas was great. So Prabhupada wants to say this, that his present karmas are bad. That's why he's called a Shudra. But from earlier karmas, he's of course
But Prabhupada
a
made it
great person.
extremely
That's why he got
clear.
there, no?
Prabhupada is very clear. Vedavyas spoke it, and Ganesh wrote it down with his tusk on a tablet, that such a person is, the Bhagavad Gita says, written for Stri, Sudra, Dvijabandhu. The Bhagavad Gita, the book that we hold so dear. Stri, Sudra, Dvijabandhu. Stri means, of course, ladies. Sudra means working
Everyone.
class people. And Dvijabandhu means those who are born in a Brahmin family but are not able to maintain the Brahminical standard. So whoever is born in a Brahmin family is,
Yes.
if he's not on the highest standard of Brahmin, then he's called
Yeah.
Dvijabandhu.
Okay.
He's not qualified to take second initiation.
Oh, great, great. Got it. Dviju Bandhu, right? This is the exact word which you're saying.
Bandhu,
Dvija
Dvija
Bandhu,
means
Dvija.
right.
I'll just
Dvija,
search
as you
it,
know,
yeah.
means twice born, right?
Okay.
Dvija means
Yeah.
twice. And Bandhu
Yeah.
means related to or bound to or in the association of. Bandhu means in that group, or in this case, it means family, but not qualified by qualification.
Okay. Got it, got it, Prabhu.
Related, a relative of a Brahmin who did not pass the test. It's like a lawyer. You can go to law school, but if you don't pass the test, you can't practice law.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you
But
from a Brahmin family yourself?
no, Prabhu. Not at all.
Not? Okay, it doesn't
No,
matter.
no.
Because you know what Lord Chaitanya said, Suchi hoy, muchi hoy, muchi hoy, suchi hoy. Or maybe it's the other way around, suchi hoy, muchi hoy, suchi hoy. You can become high class man, fall down to the low level. You can be a low class man, be elevated to the high level by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya only.
Hari Bol.
And it was Lord Chaitanya, Radha, and Krishna. So it can't all be all that chanting Hare Krishna and enlightening every living being on earth, even some of the humans, but certainly the animals and the plants and whatnot, we should enlighten them, of course, because they're passive and they're willing to hear us, unlike the human beings. That that Dvijabandhu, Muchi Hoy, Suchi Hoy, whoever is high, whoever is low, if they hear the name of Krishna, they will be delivered from repeated birth and death. And Lord Chaitanya took great pleasure in delivering all the jivas of his era by chanting incredible multi-stacks, multi-faceted, multi-leveled Sankirtan melodies and chanting. It was just amazing. And the closest we can get to hearing Lord Chaitanya is to listen to Prabhupada chanting.
Hari Bol.
If you listen to
Yes.
anybody else, they just learned it from Ramakrishna, they learned it from the Baals, they learned it from eunuchs, they learned it from all sorts of people that are not qualified to
Go ahead, Prabhu.
transfer the name of Krishna to
is-
the human ear.
Is the doubts getting clearer? What is the qualities and how to distinguish? That is all.
Yeah. That Digibandhu, I had to. I'll search it online. If you have that code, please do let me know, right, bro? I need to read it again.
Okay, I will share it. So do you?
So
do you know?
are we completely satisfied, Mohi? Gee.
Yes, of course. Your doubts are always satisfying. You always have answers which are like out of my mind.
Okay.
So
Why don't you read this?
It's just like when you shoot an arrow from a bow, the whole point
Yes.
is to hit the center of the target, right?
I'll read it.
Yes.
If you shoot from the bow and it goes all around and maybe it comes back and hits you in the back of the head, then you haven't done a good job.
Okay.
But you have
Please,
to shoot the
please
bow,
read this.
an arrow, boom, it goes and hits the center of the target. You know what happens when you shoot the second arrow? If you're good, it goes forward and splits the first arrow in half. It's so accurately shot at the target.
Okay. Here you go. Mohit Prabhu, go ahead.
Translation: peacefulness. Should I go it right?
Yes, please.
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, and religiousness. These are the qualities by which Brahmanas work.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So, but we don't have to worry about being Brahmanas. What we need to worry about is one thing. I wake up in the morning, I say, I read two or three, maybe a page and a half from Prabhupada yesterday. In that, he said our job is to deliver the fallen souls. I don't need to read anything more. My job is to deliver the fallen souls. you reach that conclusion, you bypass the need of hours, years, and maybe lifetimes of sitting in class listening to somebody falling asleep lecturing while you're falling asleep listening. Just get the point right off the bat. Oh, what does Prabhupada, Prabhupada came to deliver us all? What does he want? He wants us to deliver all the jivas, including the animals and birds and plants. For me, he asked me to deliver the ants. It's on recorded in the memories tapes. And I said, that's great. So now I know what to do. I'll read the books for enrichment, but I will not need them for information, because the only information I need, deliver the fallen souls. How do you deliver them? Chant Hare Krishna. That's all. You don't have to do anything else to deliver the fallen souls except chant Hare Krishna.
Mohit Prabhu, you also asked about Dvija Bandhu, and Shreya Prabhu shared where Prabhupada is talking about the Dvija Bandhu. So if you want to read it,
here?
She's here, she's listening. So go ahead, here, you can read it here.
Shreya Prabhu, accept my obeisances, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my obeisances too.
I do, and I do so in behalf of Prabhupada, since nobody in their right mind would offer me obeisances.
Generally,
Go ahead, Mohit Prabhu.
yes, sir. Generally, a man born in an ordinary being, and by the purifactory process, he is born for the second time. So he sees a new light, seeks a direction for spiritual progress. He approaches a spiritual master for the instruction in the Vedas. So the spiritual master accepts only the sincere inquirer as his disciple and gives him the sacred thread. In this way, a man becomes twice born, or Dvija. After qualifying a Dvija, one may study Vedas. After becoming well versed in the Vedas, one becomes Vipra, a qualified Brahmana, thus realizes the absolute and makes further progress in spiritual life until he reaches Vaishnava stage. The Vaishnava stage is a post-graduate status of Brahmana. Progressive Brahmana must necessarily become a Vaishnava, for a Vaishnava is self-realized, learned Brahmana.
Jai.
I think you should
Right.
continue reading the next paragraph as well.
Go
You'll
ahead.
have a better understanding.
Jai, go ahead.
Does everyone wants to read this? Just because of me, Prabhu, please don't continue this.
Shreya Prabhu, why don't you read, Prabhu? You found it, so you end it.
That's okay, Prabhu. Mohit Prabhu, you can read it,
It's
Prabhu.
yours.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami was a Vaishnava from beginning. Therefore, he was no need for him to undergo all the process of Varnasrama institution. Ultimately, the aim of Varnasrama is to turn a crude man into a pure devotee of Lord Krishna or Vaishnava. Anyone, therefore, who becomes a Vaishnava, accepted by first class Vaishnava or Uttama Adigari Vaishnava, is already considered a Brahmana regardless of his birth and past deeds. Who becomes a Vaishnava, bro? Just elaborate on this once. So, who becomes a first class Vaishnava and an Uttama Adhikari. What's the difference between these two? Someone can elaborate. Hare Krishna.
Yes, we're listening. What's the question?
He's saying that a first class Vaishnava is an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava.
Yes, precisely.
Okay, so the words are the same. First class is already an Uttama Adhikari, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Okay.
Let's remember that Uttama Adhikari means on the same level as Krishna in Krishna Loka.
Yes.
Clearly stated by Prabhupada.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this principle and recognized Sri Haridas Thakura as the Acharya of the holy name. All through Thakura Haridasa appeared in the Mohammedan family.
Muhammadan.
In conclusion, Srila Sukadeva Goswami was born of Vaishnava, and therefore Vaishnavism was included in him. He did not have to undergo any ceremonies. Any low person to be a Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulukasa, Abhira, Subha, Yavana, Khasa, or even lower can be delivered to the highest transcendental position of mercy by the mercy of Vaishnavas. Srila Sukhdev Goswami was the spiritual master of Sri Sita Goswami, and
Sutta
who
Goswami.
therefore offers his respectful obeisances unto Sri Sukhdeva Goswami before he began his answers to the questions of the sages at Nai Saharnaya. Yeah.
Jai. So
Jai.
you got your answer. Shri Prabhu found it. Haribol.
Now, you know,
Thank you very much.
mentioned Har-
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Shri Mataji. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Haridas Thakur was mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, do we remember who Haridas Thakur is before he becomes Haridas Thakur? Or while he's Haridas Thakur?
He was Muslim.
Yeah? He was a Muslim and then he became purified. But what is this identity? You know, everyone in Chaitanya Lila is playing parts like a play. So what?
Isn't he Lord Brahma?
Yes, he's the creator of the whole universe. And he considered himself unworthy to come within 3 kilometers of Lord Jagannath in the Jagannath temple because of his low birth. Can you imagine? There's Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Those are all the highest beings in this universe. Brahma created the whole universe. He is the creator in the book of Genesis of the Judeo-Christian Islamic religion. And he did not feel worthy to come within kilometers of Lord Jagannath's temple. This is the pastime. Brahma is the father of Narada Muni. Narada Muni is a pure devotee. There's no question of his qualification. You know what I mean? Qualification is there, but for the sake of us, he showed Muchi Hoy, Suchi Hoy, Suchi Hoy, Muchi Hoy. The highest can become the lowest. He became the lowest in the form of a Muslim, then became the highest in the form of the Namacharya. So from Brahma to Muslim to Namacharya, he did not become degraded by becoming a Muslim. This is all posthumous. Krishna's pastimes and his associates' pastimes are all to be celebrated. If you understand them clearly and you can hear them properly, you will shudder in spiritual ecstasy when you hear them. You will not be able to stop shuddering. You know, it's called tirpulation. You will not be able to stop your movement of body in the ecstasy of understanding Brahma becoming Haridas.
So amazing. This Prabhupada says ultimately the aim of Varnashram Dharma is to turn a crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord or a Vaishnava. Anyone, therefore, who becomes a Vaishnava accepted by the first class Vaishnava or Uttamadhikari Vaishnava is already considered a Brahmana regardless of his past birth or past misdeeds. So there you go.
That's interesting because recently we've run across people saying that anyone not born as a Brahmin cannot be a Brahmin.
Right. So this is, Shri Prabhu raised her hand. Go ahead, Shri Prabhu. You wanted to make a point?
Yes, I just wanted to bring in this realization, which I think I have felt it. I don't know if you all agree with me. When we're talking about Varnashram, although our history books talk about the 4 caste systems, and we've come to believe that it's by birth that we belong to a certain caste, if you observe your life pattern, you would say that there is some part of a Brahmana in you, some part of a Kshatriya, some part of a Vaishnava, and some part of you is a Shudra. Which means in today's lifestyle, although we might be born in different castes belonging to the four main categories, we all perform all sorts of tasks in one lifetime. Sometimes we are studying, we are learning about God, we're doing spiritual activities. So we tend to follow the Brahmanas' qualities. Sometimes we are fighting life. We are, struggling to make a living. So we are trying to protect our family. We are like the Kshatriyas. And then we go out to earn money to feed our families. There we become the business class, becoming the Vaishnavas. Even if you're just selling
Vaishyas.
services, Vaishyas,
Vaishyas.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vaishyas. And finally, as Shudras, we tend to do all our tasks. So I think the forecast system that has been introduced as per the Bhagavad Gita, and it was told to very clearly, even in the Bhagavad Gita, that it is not according to the birth of a person that we belong to a particular caste, but by the way of life, the how and
Yes.
the way we live our life, we fall into a certain category. And over and above the forecast system, we tend to become a Vaishnava the moment we realize Krishna consciousness. That's where it's all concluding, is what I have come to believe. And I felt this because if you observe today, no Kshatriya is sitting and waiting for a war to happen, because that's not the way you can go with life. No Vaishya is sitting there only for business. They are sending their children to studies. They're getting graduated. They are learning spirituality. So many people are becoming awakened, realized, and there are also Vaishyas who are working, which means we belong to the labor class. So I'm just saying that in our life pattern we have
Shaya,
a combination. Yeah.
Shaya Prabhu, we can save you some effort and time by saying no one is qualified to enter even Shudra Dharma in the age of Kali. We can only take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, chant, and deliver the fallen souls wherever we meet them. But there's nothing else that we can do. We don't have any shred of genuine Vedic Dharma. But
Right, Prabhu. I
because
just
Prabhupada
wanted
has
to
made
break
us
this.
initiated, now we are on the what you call it, the Kanista Adigari platform. That means we're above the Brahmins. We're above all the Brahmins on Kanista Adigari platform, because now we are pursuing our spiritual identity, not simply a duty to be performed in human society, which is what the Brahmin structures, Vaishyas, and Shudras did 5,000 years ago. We're above all of that. Prabhupada made that very clear, that the Kanista Adigari distinguishes himself from all the Varnas and Ashramas by saying, Aham Brahmasmi. I am simultaneously one and different. I am simultaneously and inconceivably one and different from Krishna. So we don't have to worry about these class distinctions. Of course, any Brahmin lady who ties her own shoe suddenly becomes a Shudra, even if she's from a very high Brahmin family. Any man who has a yard sale and sells something in his yard, even though he's a great Brahmin, he's become a Vaishya. I agree with all of your points. But in this day and age, I will happily announce that none of them matter even slightly, not even a little bit slightly. Because the only thing that distinguishes us is chant or no chant. If we chant, we're on the right path for Dharma. And if we don't chant, we are adharma. We are against Dharma, and we'll go to hellish planets by not chanting.
exactly what I wanted to conclude with, Prabhu. So my point was just this, because we Indians get confused with a lot of the caste system and our ancestral history, because not everybody is aware or probably are being told or taught how this thing works. But we just know that we belong to one of the
But you're
categories.
getting too caught
So
up in it. You
yes,
already
the point is
in
to
your earlier conversation,
yes,
you're way beyond that whole category. So
right.
don't try to be caught up by this, that, other thing. Doesn't matter. What you do, chant Hare Krishna, and you will become a pure devotee of the Lord. Deliver the other fallen souls of this material world. You will be fulfilling Prabhupada's desire, which means you'll go back to Godhead much quicker than all those people that are trying to figure out how to do the right thing so they can go back to Godhead first. Whoever delivers others will go back to Godhead quickly. Whoever tries to go back to Godhead will go back to Godhead much, 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 much later, because they're simply opportunists. And in Krishna Loka, there's no room for opportunists. There's only room for pure, unalloyed love of God. So that's chanting. We do chanting, pure, unalloyed love of God. Forget everything else. It's all Maya. All these other distinctions are Maya. And if people say, well, Brahman is Vaishnava, no, forget it. It's all Maya. There isn't anything in this age resembling it. And even if there were, we would not pay attention to it. Because if Prabhupada says just chant Hare Krishna, never mind caste, creed, color, whatever, then that's what we do. We chant Hare Krishna for Prabhupada. And what do we get from chanting Hare Krishna? The desire to deliver all the fallen souls, including of some humans, presumably, as well.
Very,
Is that okay,
very.
Shreya?
Yes, Prabhu, I totally agree with you, because when I was reading the Bhagavad
Celebrate.
Gita, this is exactly where I felt that the caste system was given back then to define the kind of people they were being categorized by, and that was categorized only on basis of the nature of work that they were doing. So if you are somebody who is studying
Yes.
spirituality, you were called a Brahmana. So it was not by birth that you were declared a Brahmana or
The
otherwise.
thing is, we don't have to talk about it even now
Right.
because it's
Yes.
irrelevant.
Yes, it's totally
My big
irrelevant the moment
interest in you,
you.
Shreya Prabhu, is that you
Yes,
speak
Prabhu.
as spirit soul. You do not bother with trying to think things through or figure things out. If you talk to people that are into their heads and talk, think, you're going to go down, not up. The way to go up is to hearing and chanting, except Prabhupada, what you were saying to me earliest conversation was, oh, you had the chance for association with Srila Prabhupada. Then you went on to say something, how you were listening and watching the videos of Prabhupada in his last days, and you were speaking with such emotion, choking up your voice, genuine emotion, not sentimental garbage, real emotion. When you finished, I said, think I was lucky to have the association of Prabhupada. But what you were just saying, by looking at that recording, you have given me association of Prabhupada. That's how transcendental it is. We don't have to worry about thinking or rationality or rules. Our friend Vashish tends to get too much wrapped up in stuff that won't help him at the time of death at all. We just want to concentrate on delivering our fellow jivas.
Prabhu, there's one thing I want to say about Vashish Prabhu, if I may say so, if I'm allowed to
Yes.
say so. I just believe that there is a big miscommunication or a communication gap between the two of you, because when I personally speak to both of you, you both are saying somewhat the similar thing. So I personally feel there is just a communication gap, but instead of trying to fill in the gap, we sometimes get ticked off and we sometimes take on
There's
a
nothing to
different path
fill.
altogether.
There is no gap.
Right.
Gap means lack of, it's like shooting an arrow at a target. There's no gap. If you hit the center of the target, you hit the center of the target. As far as Vashish is concerned, we have all given him every opportunity to accept Prabhupada's teaching, which he refuses to do. And we are welcoming him as an equal in Istagosthi. There are nobody superior or inferior in Istagosthi. I'm not better, I'm not worse. Everyone, you, Shreya, are equal. And if you speak of profound truth, we will all offer obeisances to you.
Yes.
So that's the reality. But she's just been invited. He was invited for tonight very courteously by us. Please come and let's discuss openly, not behind the back, you know.
Prabhu, Prabhu, I just wanted to say this, Prabhu. So, like you were saying, everybody's at the equal path. He just wants to label it by calling, then you are a Siksha Guru, because you're giving us the education, you're giving us the realization. So he just is still stuck to the labeling aspects. But I know what you're saying is much higher than the labels. So that's where.
No.
Right,
Prabhupada made it clear that you cannot use the word Shiksha Guru for anyone that's lower than an Uttama Adigari who is in his direct association with Krishna and Krishna Loka. If he says otherwise, then he is committing a great harm to Lord Chaitanya and to Prabhupada.
Shreya Mataji, can you do one thing for us, please?
All you have to do is say, okay.
I have sent him a message. I just sent him a message asking him to join the group. It's not gone through.
We also invited. But
yes, Prabhu. He wants to. He did mention that he wants to be a part of the group and not be out. So he will definitely join, I'm sure. But maybe now.
Outside, so he can twist the brains.
On the meet and just clear it off, right? Online. So that
one person at a time, please. One person, the person speak, please. There's three people speaking at once, and it's not really nice.
So I have sent him a message. I have sent him a message. I'm just waiting for him to respond.
Please make him online and just clarify all these doubts and whatever it is, right?
Because if he wants to talk from Prabhupada Shastra and not reject it, he's welcome. If he wants to reject Prabhupada's teaching, not welcome. I mean, what else do we have except Prabhupada's words? We can't reject them. And we can't
Prabhu, he doesn't reject Srila Prabhupada's words, but rather that's what he told me, that he is completely in agreement with Srila Prabhupada's works, and that, the senior devotees or whoever is kind of talking about his preachings from Prabhupada's books must try and reference it with the books. So that's what I told him that you always do. And if we don't feel satisfied, we always search for more information through the vast books that we have to find and locate and clarify our doubts. And Istagosthi is all about being more open and free to express. So that's exactly what I was trying to tell him.
Conclusion. You have to express your realization, not blah, blah, blah. You have to express the truth. Now, when we went to Rupa Manjari, myself, and Ramachandra, we went to great extremes. Not great extremes, but we put in some decent time searching out the definition of Shiksha, Diksha, Guru. And we came up with a bunch of examples. And he said that there's better examples elsewhere that say the opposite. I said, fine, show them to us. No, you have to go find them. You went round and round. No, that's just trickery. If he cannot, why can't he accept what his Prabhupada says in his quotes?
But that's my question.
So what's the point of talking to a person who doesn't accept Prabhupada's words?
Point here is, Prabhu, that Prabhupada always wanted that whatever issues you have, come it on face and just face it face on face. Come online or come everywhere, do it face on face. He's not doing that. Right now, his internet is off and
went over it for like 20 times with Vashish.
We're requesting as an humble servant of Prabhupada, please come online and just clarify.
An idea that he's getting from somewhere other than Prabhupada, and he is too secretive to let us know where he's getting his opinion, knowing that we would disagree because it's not from Prabhupada. So what's wrong with accepting? But
Prabhu,
what is the,
Narayan Prabhu, I just wanted to tell you this, that
Yes.
he might be in disagreement with us in many platforms, but I think it
I
is
don't care.
Krishna
I don't want
posing.
anyone to agree with me. I don't want
Right.
him to disagree with Prabhupada.
No, not that way, Prabhu. What I'm trying to say is, it could be possible that he, I mean, it could be just kind of a test for this group of Istagosthi members to kind of try and bring him to realization. It could be a test that we are
Our
all
job.
being put face with, you know. So
If you
I
put up
just
a
see
quote,
it that way that, yeah,
Try, Prabhu, you saw the quotes.
yeah,
Shiksha
yeah,
Guru, Diksha Guru on the same platform.
right.
He does not accept that. It's not a question of talking or reasoning or he's a nice guy. No, he likes to get people emotionally involved with him, that he leads them around and around in circles away from the topic. But he never comes to the topic, which is, where are your quotes to say that the Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru are not on the same platform? He says, oh, there's almost so many quotes. I said, well, let's have one. Where's your one quote? So he came up with a quote of Prabhupada talking in Hawaii about the Diksha Guru, and if you can't have the Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. Ramachandra, could you explain how that turned out?
I know, Prabhu,
Ramachandra?
he keeps going in circles and he doesn't get to, give that straightforward answer. He's trying to make his,
Style.
yeah, and that's exactly what I told him, that you have to level up your spiritual perspective from now on, Vishesh Prabhu, because we no longer need definitions for a guru, because we've accepted Srila Prabhupada, and breaking down whether he's Siksha, Diksha, or there's somebody else who wants to be a Siksha or Diksha Guru. All of this is not our main focus at Istagosthi. At Istagosthi, we are talking about spiritual
You're an
progress,
honest person.
and that's it.
I saw what you wrote to Bashish on the WhatsApp
Right.
page. I
Yeah.
also was trying to support you with statements
Right.
also on the WhatsApp page. But what you
Yeah.
don't realize is Bashish is not ignorant, and he's not foolish, and he's not mistaken. He's
Right.
doing it on purpose.
Yes,
to
that's exactly
get
what I
people
was saying to him.
He wants people to agree with him. As soon as people agree with him, he starts insulting Ramachandra and others, how they don't know, but he knows.
Yes,
And how we should
that's
just
what.
read Prabhupada's books and chant Hare Krishna. He's not on. He's tricking. He's not a
Yes.
sincere. He's not sincerely looking for the truth. If he
That's
was,
what I wanted
we
to
could have
tell
a
him,
good
Prabhu. So,
This Istagosthi is for seeking the truth. If
right,
he
Yes,
comes
sir.
on Istagosthi, truth will be there. If
Right.
I say something that's wrong, he can point out, Nargaran, what you said is wrong. I said, okay, prove it. He comes up with a quote that says Nargaran is wrong. Then I apologize and I accept his view. But if we come up with the thing that Prabhupada says, and he says that's wrong, what Prabhupada said is wrong, I said, well, what about, where do you get the idea that's wrong? Oh, there's so many others that say Shiksha Guru. I said, everyone needs Shiksha Guru. I said, okay, where are they? And what is their authority? So why do you,
Actually-
so Shreya, I'm afraid you're just like a maternal feeling towards him. Oh, that poor baby, he needs our care and our love. But he's just tricking us. That's all. I brought him in. I honored him. I thought he was a big shot with
Yes.
the final order, and I think he was a big shot with Madhu Pandit's program in Bangalore. I thought.
Yeah.
But then it came out he's never been for Madhu Pandit. He went to Bangalore, but he went there to study real estate or whatever it is he does. Pharmaceuticals.
I also had a word with him. I told him that please come online and just do it face to face, because this is what Prabhupada used to preach, right? If you have knowledge, come to face and just clarify all your doubts or make me wrong. But he told me that
Yes.
if I come online, I would offend Prabhu. And as Madhu Pandit Das Prabhu also recognizes Naranayan Prabhu as a very senior devotee, so I don't want to bash him online. So
Why does he bash me at
what
all?
this-
I
if
treat
you
him
are
like an equal. Why can't he treat me like an equal?
if you are a truthful person, come online and just say it straightforwardly. That's it.
Let
Done.
him come on
Simple as that.
line. I treated him like a god until he started lying.
Another thing is Vashish was sharing half quotes. You know, he's taking things.
Okay,
You like
Ramachandra, can you give the example of what that half quote is?
Yes. So if you look at Vashish's quotes, this is the original quote that Srila Prabhupada gave in Honolulu, July 4th, 1974. Shreya Prabhu, can you read it?
Okay, Prabhu. Prabhupada says, then, so Siksha and Diksha Guru. A Siksha Guru who instructs against the instruction of spiritual, he is not a Siksha Guru. He is a demon. Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru means sometimes a Diksha Guru is not present always. Therefore, one can take learning, instruction from an advanced devotee. That is called Siksha Guru. Siksha Guru does not mean he is speaking something against the teachings of the Diksha Guru. He is not a Siksha Guru, he is a rascal.
So this is the entire quote, and then what Vashish shared was just part of it, and I can show you what part he shared. So his
On purpose.
his
Yes,
ways of
Prabhu, we
posting
are
the
aware of that. Yeah.
For cheating, for deceiving. Ignorance, I welcome ignorance. I say, I am ignorant, you're ignorant, let's talk. Let's quote from Prabhupada and dispel our ignorance. But when somebody speaks the truth, the other guy is proposing ignorance and cheating like that, then what do? You should hit him with a stick. You know, that person is not honest and doesn't deserve to be called a devotee.
Here's Vashish is sharing. You know, he just shared that part of it. Siksha Guru, sometimes the Diksha Guru is not always present, therefore one can take learning and instruction from an advanced devotee. This is called Shiksha Guru. What about the other part that's missing? You know, if he instructs against the Diksha Guru, Prabhupada calls him a demon or rascal.
So
So,
that's why he's missing the meeting also, no?
huh?
That's why he's missing this meeting. He's written such half quotes. That's why he's missing these meetings also after calling him several times, right?
Yeah. So, you know, we've been very honest and open with him, and he's always communicating with the new people. He's not communicating.
Ramchandra Prabhu, I
Huh?
just want to ask you a few straightforward questions so that it becomes very clear to anybody and everybody who's listening to the Istagosthi globally from wherever they're connecting. So in Istagosthi, we do accept Srila Prabhupada as our guru, correct?
Shiksha and Diksha Guru, yes, here. And the leak for
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we follow Srila Prabhupada's books, correct?
Yeah, there's books, there's writings, there's audios, so many things, videos, everything. We follow everything Prabhupada.
And we don't follow the pattern that ISKCON follows, correct?
Correct.
Yes. We have discussed.
Depends what pattern you're talking about.
Yes.
But we do not try to put, like myself, I called you, I called Vashish, I called Ramachandra, I called everyone Prabhu. Prabhu means master. So I'm not putting myself above anybody. You're above me. But if I know something, then I will speak the truth. He said, oh, he speaks the truth. Therefore, he thinks he's a big shot and more important than anybody else. No, I think the truth is more important than anything else.
I guess something important
Krishna, the truth is more important than anyone else because Krishna is a person.
All right.
I guess Shreya Mataji has certain points.
But the
Please
thing is,
go
there's
ahead.
still dissatisfaction that somehow we have to give him the right to deliberately try to mislead us.
Prabhu, I think it's just that he doesn't want to get to the same conclusion as we are. But I also believe that anybody trying to shift focus of this group, that is our Istagosthi group, to doing something else than what we intend to do probably will not succeed because we are very firm in the way we want to conduct these meetings. So if we want to,
for that wonderful statement, yes, I agree with you.
Because there are
Right.
many other platforms and meetings that are happening across the world where they're following a different structure and an approach. But here we just want to do it by free will. So I pick up anything I like to speak, and we go on to validate it, verify it if that has been said exactly, or to check if our understanding is correct.
We
So
try
I
to speak
think
for the we speak for
Right.
the conclusion, not for social chit chat. We're not we're not chatting to pat each other in the back and give each other a bowl of galumchumans or something of that sort. We're here to
Right.
be very rigid and strict and understand Siddhanta, meaning Shreya, you're a pure spirit soul. We were in that conversation. You were going to come back and talk with me again,
Yeah.
but you can anytime you like.
Yes,
The
Prabhu,
nature
I'll
of
do
the
that.
soul is such that it's not different than Krishna. But we are separating ourselves from Krishna mentally by identifying with our present body, which is ridiculous because after a few years we'll lose this body and get a different one. So we have to get off of the bodily identification and understand that Istagosthi is where you speak as jiva. You speak from the heart. You don't try to make people feel good. You don't want them to make you feel good. You don't want to be polite or friendly or cozy or chummy or, like that, no giggling. We stick with the point and we're satisfied by Siddhanta, or the conclusion, which happens to be Krishna himself.
One thing I did not appreciate of Ashish was going behind people and messaging them personally. I mean, that's fine, but without us knowing it and without expressing that in the Zoom conversation or in the WhatsApp, he was personally going to people and then saying these things. So that is not appreciated. League for 10K, we're very open and transparent about anything and everything.
Yeah.
So
Istagosthi means equality.
yes.
Whoever comes, if a big sannyasi comes, ISKCON guru comes, or a 5-year-old boy comes who's never been in a temple, if a person comes in off the street wanting to know where the coffee shop is and he wants to sit down with us, they're all welcome as equals. Because in Istagosthi, every jiva is equal to every other jiva. Then, when you leave the Istagosthi, oh, now I'm big temple commander, big temple president. Now I'm a sannyasi. You can come and kiss my feet. All that can happen after Istagosthi, but not during Istagosthi. And that's what I prefer, because I don't want to be higher or lower than a single jiva. I want to be lower in the sense that I offer respects to each and every one of you as my Prabhu, which means master. It's not just a word, it's a meaning. You are all my master. If I can talk strongly or authoritatively, well, I may have something valuable to communicate. If I don't have any status here. Confront me. Say, Narayan, what you said isn't true. I think that everyone in this sort of subtle way is trying to say, oh, poor little Vashish, he's scared to come because he's afraid that Narayan is going to smash him to the ground. Why would he say that?
I did mention this to him, Prabhu. I told him that even if we have studied all the books Srila Prabhupada has written in detail, it's not going to be equivalent to the time that you spent with him, because you probably would have got a better quality and an understanding of the whole spiritual, text that we've been brainstorming over. And I told him that even that one small statement that you make is totally from a different altitude. And I also told him that it's never going to be matched with whatever we could by just reading the books, although we do understand. We read a lot. For you to come up with the illustrations in the book, that means you need to have dive deep into the waters.
Yeah,
It's not
read them.
it's not easy to drive illustrations. And when we look at those illustrations, it's not so easy. We get the idea that's being conveyed through the images. So I strongly believe in the knowledge that you have. And And I'm also sure that today's generation is such that they're not going to buy it if it's not validated enough, and if there is no certain level of credibility from whoever is quoting from wherever. So
I'm not here
I
to
know that
criticize.
you are not misguiding.
I'm not here to put anybody down. I'm not here to try to make myself superior. But I will say, and it's pretty obvious, and I need not explanation, of all the people on this site right now, I have more years of association with Prabhupada than practically anybody else on this site. Therefore, I don't offer myself as an authority because I'm not an authority. I offer myself as a resource. Just like if you see there's iron ore or silver ore or gold ore in the ground, that doesn't give the gold ore some sort of authority over you, but gold ore is a resource. Take it out, refine it, use it, make ornaments, make money out of it, do something with it, and use it. So if whatever I have, I'm offering it to all of you. You can use it. And if you listen carefully, listen to me skeptically, and make sure I'm not lying to try to make myself look big, something or other. If you think I'm trying to do that, bring me to task. Tell me, look, I know you were there with Prabhupada, but were you really doing all of those things? Did you really supervise the artists in the art department? Did you really design pictures? You can challenge me because I did all of these things, but I do not expect people just to accept it on my authority. I have no authority. My authority is that I'm your servant. That's my only authority. You get it?
So Prabhu,
So
then there
Rakesh
is
goes
this
the opposite
question.
direction. He tries to make himself an authority on the emotional level. Oh, look at me, I'm wounded. I don't dare talk in front of Varna right because he's so mean to me. Now he just wants people to pity him and pat him on the back and give him a little kiss on the cheek. That has nothing to do with Shastra. That has nothing to do with his supposed courage as a jiva, part and parcel of Krishna. What can I do? Kill him? This jiva can't be killed. Or pierced with a sword or burned by fire. So what is he so afraid of? That he has to be protected by women?
Anyways, Shreya Prabhu, we're coming to an end. So anyone can make some last points, and then
End
we'll end
of
it in
this
about 10 minutes.
topic or the meeting, Prabhu?
I don't know, whatever you want. It's Istagosthi.
So actually, the point lies is
I
where
don't
we
know.
have a
What time?
problem
Oh,
when we.
time?
Yeah.
It's 9:45. Do we go another 15 minutes or not?
Yeah, about 10, 15 minutes we can go. So,
But still, we need to talk about something useful.
So
Yes.
Prabhu, I have a question if I can ask.
yes,
And it
question.
is it is not in relation to the topic we've been discussing. So
Good.
can I? Okay. So Prabhu, it's good to see you smile. So good. First of all, thank you so much, Prabhu, for making yourself available to all of us here. Because the first time I spoke to you, I told you it was like meeting Srila Prabhupada himself because of the time that you've spent with him. I know personally that you will have more than anybody else out there. So thank you so much for making it possible through Istagosthi, Prabhu. And my question is about from the last conversation we had. I tried to do my chants, and I told you that I was finding it difficult to stay focused because I tend to start thinking about other things, and I'm like, let me finish this first and then I'll go back to chanting. So how do I keep my focus? And then you said, just ask yourself, what do I want to do? And every time you ask yourself what you want to do, you'll get your answer, whether you want to chant or do something else first. So every time I'm doing that, I face this dual thoughts, Prabhu. It's like, although I know I want to chant, there is some part of me which is unwilling to surrender to Krishna. There is something which is not letting me, although I have the want to do it, I don't know why I don't do it. So I'm trying to
Okay.
understand where
Well,
am I
we-
missing
we
what?
talked about that before, though. No?
Yes.
Do you have any contact with Krishna directly?
As
Do you have
in,
any
I
direct? Do you have any direct one-on-one association with Krishna yourself?
so if you're referencing to me sitting in front of Krishna deity and talking to him personally, yes, I do that a lot.
You do what?
I do talk to my Krishna deity in my temple room. I do talk
Oh, I
to.
see. No,
Is that what
yes,
you're
of
talking
course.
about?
But even if you're walking down the street,
Yes, I do talk.
Is Krishna anywhere around?
Yes, he's within me, so I do talk to the.
Where is Krishna?
I am the soul, and I am a part of him. So he is me. He is in me.
Well, actually, according to the Bhagavad Gita, he's sitting next to you. He's described. I don't know if anyone has that quote, but there's two birds in the tree, the active bird and the passive bird. The passive bird is Vishnu, Paramatma. The active bird is the jiva. The jiva is hopping up and down. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And Paramatma patiently is saying, over there, try that. This is what it is. So we are never not in a conversation with Krishna. We're always in a conversation with Krishna, without fail. And therefore, if you want to get closer to Krishna, you need to ask Krishna, Paramatma, in your heart, please, my dear Paramatma Lord, can you please remove my doubt and award me, take control of my body and make me do what I should do to become spiritually advanced. Please, my dear Lord, Krishna, God, Krishna, the flute, everything in a different form. He's in four-handed form in your heart. It's still Krishna, and he's right there. He's nowhere else. It's not as though he's sitting on a tree somewhere out of doors in the rain. He's in your heart, right? Is that true, Srila Prabhupada? 4 arms, Vishnu is in your heart, ready to talk to you when you're ready to talk to him.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, do you have any interest in talking to Krishna?
Totally. Yes, 100%.
Then 100% you can talk to him because he's waiting for you to talk to him so that he can reply to you. He's not going. Krishna's never going to go against your will. Why? Because Paramatma comes here to serve the jiva in every species, even the maggots eating dead flesh and all that, or birds or insects. He comes here to serve the jiva's desire, whatever that desire might be. So if your desire is to be frustrated, he won't interfere with you. He'll encourage you to become frustrated. But if you want to say, my dear Lord Krishna, is it possible, could we please begin to have a, shall we say, friendly get together here in my heart? I am tired of being the active bird. I would like you to be the active bird. I'd like to be the passive bird. Make me dance like a puppet. Ask Paramatma, he will oblige you. He's there. It's not as though Krishna's not in your heart. Everyone says, oh, when I die, will I ever see Krishna? If you want Krishna, you can't escape from Krishna. How are you going to escape from Krishna being in your heart?
Not possible.
Yeah. Therefore, look at that resource that you have. All your questions can be answered from the person of whom you are part and parcel. You're part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna's in your heart. You're part and parcel of Paramatma. We don't like to think of it. We want to think of gopis. We want to think of cowherd boys. But why don't we just think of the reality that Paramatma is Krishna and he's there, and that we have been treating him so badly since time immemorial. We treat him badly. Then when things go wrong, we blame him. Oh God, why did you do this to me? Oh God, why must I suffer? Oh God, what did I ever do to deserve this? Well, you asked to do something that had a karmic reaction. Who gave you the power to do what you asked for? Paramatma. Then the karmic reaction comes back. You say, oh, why did you do this to me? I probably know God exists. If God existed, he wouldn't do these horrible things to me. Well, why did you ask him to do horrible things to others? Why did you induce him to do to teach you how to do your free will, to do something bad for others, and now you regret the reaction, the karmic reaction. You know what they say, what goes around comes around. And Sir Isaac Newton, who knew nothing about Krishna, said for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever we do under the guidance of Paramatma because we ask him to. So now's the time to ask Krishna for better things. Like, my dear Lord Krishna, can you please remove my obstacles to wanting to chant? Can you speak to me? May I listen to you with my ears, my spiritual ears? Can you please speak to me? I'm listening to you. Can you guide me? Oh no, you think I'm faking it, don't you? You think I'm lying, that I don't really want to hear you. I'm just saying I want to hear you to trick you into speaking to me. No, my dear Lord Krishna, I really do. Well, do I really? Or am I tricking him? Oh, maybe I am tricking him. My dear, okay, I'll try it, Prabhu. You say to yourself, don't be insincere. If you want Krishna to speak to you, don't pretend you want him to speak to you. Ask him to actually speak to you. It takes quite a while to get through the layers of our own emotional insincerity before we can actually ask Krishna to speak to us. But when we get through those layers, he will.
Okay, we have another devotee joining us. I think he's joining us from Fiji.
So one doubt.
Fiji, I didn't know Fiji really existed. Isn't it a mythological place?
So
Prabhu,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, have you ever met anyone from Fiji? Have you ever
Sorry,
been to
Prabhu?
Fiji?
Yes, go ahead, please speak.
I think Mahaprabhu is not there.
It's not Mahaprabhu, it's someone else. Prabhu, go ahead. Are you from Fiji?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm from Fiji, Lataka.
The Lotoka temple. Acha.
Yeah.
So, we have a devotee from Fiji that found us on YouTube, and he's been listening to our conversations. And Prabhu, you can ask any questions. Narayan Prabhu is here, and as well as I'm here. I'm also from Fiji. You know that. This Bodhi was born in Fiji, so you're there. Narayan, you got to unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry if I have disturbed the class. I think the class was going on. It's not.
No, it's not a class. This is not a class. It's a Istagosthi meeting where people can share their realizations and be ask questions. So you can ask any question you like to anyone.
Okay. Okay. So I suppose I just saw the notification on my phone that your discussion is on the Varnasrama Dharma, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the topic of my interest. That's why I just straight away, as soon as I got the notification, I clicked on it.
Okay.
So my question would be like. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says at one place, I think I'm a new devotee. I'm not been in the movement for a very long time. So the first canto of Bhagavatam in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada is giving some information about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lifetime.
Yes.
And then therein he describes that like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in conversation with someone, and he says that even more important than Varnasrama Dharma is Krishna consciousness, because it's not really transcendental. And in the Bhagavad Gita, we see that Lord Krishna, like he wants the Varnashram Dharma to be established. So, say, on one hand, we know that it's not transcendental, but then to have a good foundation in Krishna consciousness, it's a must for our society to have a Varnashrama Dharma. Because, say, for example, this movement is primarily reserved for us to become Brahmanas. Srila Prabhupada wants us to become Brahmanas, and then after becoming Brahmanas, we become Vaishnavas. So, just for example, take all the grastas in the movement, well, say that most of them, they go out and work. But traditionally, Brahmanas, they're not supposed to go out and work. It's they'd rather die of not eating than to go out and work. That's the dharma of Brahmins. They are like very expert in preaching and studying Shastra, and whatever they get on with their preaching, and they live in very much in the mode of goodness. So it's like in Kali Yuga, everything is jumbled up very much. Like for example, if you take my Varna is Kshatriya, as per my birth and family is Kshatriya, and when I come to ISKCON, I'm aspiring to become a Brahmana. And then, say for example, I work as a doctor, right? Which is Shudra. Doctors, engineers, all these jobs which today in society people give highest rank to, like they look upon this kind of field. These are all Shudra jobs. And so how can I become a good Brahmana, like if I increase my Shudra like qualification? Because I think even to become a Brahmana, we need a lot of mode of goodness. It's not that easy even to become a Brahmana, because they don't normally go out and work. They must be so expert in preaching and studying Shastra that they are able to manipulate people to like get them into Krishna consciousness, and like give them donations, all these things like.
Okay, I think we
So
have
how
understood
do
your
I
question.
understand that?
Yes, I think we have understood the gist
Yeah,
of your question.
it's very much jumbled up like in Kali Yuga, everything.
Yes. Narayan Prabhu, go ahead.
Sorry, it was a long one.
It's okay. We had discussion about this exact thing that Shreya Prabhu talked about. So maybe Narayan Prabhu can sum it up in a few minutes. So Narayan
Oh,
Prabhu, did you hear his?
me?
Yes. Then we can give it to other devotees like Rupa Manjari Prabhu. I'm there. Shreya is also
Why
there.
not
And
have Rupa Manjari answer her? She's knowledgeable.
yes, Rupa Manjari Prabhu. Do you wanna? Did you hear what he said? Or Shreya Prabhu? So, or then I'll start then. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada's teachings, first thing is that every living entity, either he's a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, he's a spirit soul, right? That's part and parcel of Krishna. The soul is not Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra. It's part and parcel of Krishna. So anyone who comes in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books and they practice Krishna consciousness, they immediately come to the spiritual platform of Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul. Every living entity is a spirit soul. Now, when you come to that realization, I'm a spirit soul and everyone else is a spirit soul, you start to see that spirit soul, and they've been given that particular type of body, and the body is temporary. It's not eternal. You read the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, certain things are eternal. What is eternal? Prabhu from Fiji.
Prabhu, eternal is the soul, the living
Yes,
entity,
yes,
the super soul,
yes.
the time, and the material nature. The
Material
dharma
nature is
is
not. Yeah, material
oh
nature is not eternal.
uh,
It's temporary, meaning that yes. So if we are the soul and the body is temporary, so we who are we then?
we are the soul.
Yes. So the soul is not. Is this, does Krishna say the soul is Brahman, Vaishya, Shudra, or
No,
this?
no, Prabhu, never.
Then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also rejects that point that Who am I? What does Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? He's what? And every living
Chira
entity.
Rasa Rupa Nitya Krishna.
Yes. So that's, yes. So this designation is Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra. Yeah, it's there, but it's not the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is what Prabhupada has given, that Aham Brahmasmi, all part and parcel of Krishna. Now for the society to function, certainly this needs to be talked about and established, which Srila Prabhupada wanted, but not on the principle of, okay, I'm a Brahmana, I will dictate to you. No, the principle is everyone is a spirit soul and they have the same access to the knowledge that Prabhupada has given, right? Anyone coming off the street at a ISKCON temple, they're given the same knowledge, right? A Brahmana, a Vaishya, Shudra, whatever. Aren't they given the same knowledge that Prabhupada is giving to all living entities?
Yes, Prabhupada are given the same knowledge. They read the same books.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so why? So your question to
My is like when we are not like now when we are in the material consciousness,
yeah,
not really on the transcendental platform. So we need the support of Varnashram Dharma. For
yeah,
example, like in our society we have ashrams, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. We take shelter of one of the ashramas.
yes,
Like say if someone is a grihastha, we just don't leave our partner randomly just
right,
because there are some difficulties and go take vanaprastha or go to the brahmachari ashram, and likewise with the brahmachari and sannyas.
yes.
So that's for the ashram part, but what about the varnas? Like in the ultimate issue, it has to be established, I guess. But yeah, just like you said that it's not that the Brahman is. So in some ways they are superior, like they're the intellectual class, but it shouldn't be that they're exploiting the other castes. Everyone works hand in hand to help each other in Krishna consciousness, because so I think it will take some time for our society to actually like establish the Varnasrama Dharma, because I've seen in some countries, India and some of our farm communities, devotees are starting to actually practice Varnasrama Dharma.
Actually,
Like,
you're in Fiji, so that system of working according to your need or your capacity was there when I was in Fiji in the 90s. The farmer was farming, they had cows, but that aspect of Krishna consciousness was missing. You remember back
yes,
then?
Babu, that's so true. Even now, like they're moving away from that farming background, and
Yes,
it's a very good country for spiritual advancement. Even Srila Prabhupada said that Fiji could be the first Krishna conscious country in the world, and the natives
right.
here are quite pious as well. The natives, the Fijians here,
Yes,
and yeah, and I mean we need to have more programs to get them in. Up till now, it's mostly been the Indians who have been coming to the temples, and Fijians have been kind of like neglected. We have not yet translated any Bhagavad Gita in any of Srila Prabhupada's books in Fijian. I think it's just been one or two small books that have been written,
yes.
and preaching has been very much like greatly neglected on their
So,
part.
so you
So
take up the
yeah,
task.
I guess
So,
I
that,
I just got
may I make a
initiated
quick
in 2019.
comment?
First initiation.
Yes. Narayan Prabhu wants to make a comment. Go ahead, Narayan Prabhu.
Quick comment, not to interrupt the flow, but we have to stop and think that this whole Krishna consciousness movement will take care of our material bodies. It will give us wives, children. It will give us jobs. We can avoid we follow four regular principles, thereby avoiding sinful acts. We become vegetarian. We worship the deity. This is all Kanista Adigari, beginning level of transcendental life. But that's not who we are. If the actual question of Krishna consciousness need not concern it with so much with Varnas, but concern ourselves with our mission. If Prabhupada said, I want to deliver all the fallen souls in the golden age of Kali, then if I'm his disciple, I say, I want to deliver all the fallen souls to the golden age of Kali. Why should Prabhupada have to do it by himself? I'd rather he sit peacefully eating some nice prasadam I'll cook for him and let me deliver the fallen souls and let you and me and everybody get together till there's 10 million of us delivering all the fallen souls by chanting loudly in the streets. The plants, the insects, and even some of the humans will become caught up in this desire to chant Hare Krishna. So we don't have to worry too much about our caste. We don't have to worry about our anything. It's sort of meaningless in the Kali Yuga. Everybody is lower than Shudra. Even the Brahmins are lower than Shudra. And we were talking earlier that the Vedavyas dictated to Ganesh, who wrote it down with his broken tusk, clay tablet, the Bhagavad Gita, this great Bhagavad Gita scripture, this very elevated Bhagavad Gita, is written for Stri, Sudra, Dvija, Bandhu. Stri means ladies who are not normally scholars. Some ladies are extraordinary scholars, but most ladies are more interested in being homemakers and stuff like that. Stri, Sudra, that means the working class of men who don't bother themselves with saying Gayatri mantra and saying 20 prayers before stepping onto the soil of their room, or bathing 5 times a day. And then, does that sound means that they're appreciating that what I'm saying is true? I wonder. And then Dvijabandhu means those who are born into the higher, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmin families. Dvijabandhu means, Dvija means twice born, that they get Brahmin initiation. Bandhu means related to the twice born, but not qualified to become twice born. Even in the time of the Vedas, even 5,000 years ago, Vedas made that clear. So we are clearly Dvijabandhu at best. So we do not have to worry too much about social class and distinction. If we get the Varnasrama Dharma, Daiva Varnasrama Dharma, oh yes, the Brahmins will be, the Lord Jagannath will own the whole works. The Brahmins will worship Jagannath. The Kshatriyas will defend the place against marauders from God knows where, America probably. The Vaishyas will be working to produce grains, food grains for everyone and everything, clothing, cloth, and also arranging to care for and breed the highest quality of desi cows. And that they can do, the Vaishyas, and they're like the belly. And then the Shudras will help everybody. It's like a pyramid, like the shape pyramid. Pyramid means very few Brahmins, more Kshatriyas, a lot of Vaishyas, and everybody else is Shudras. And I like to say that the point of, or the purpose of Varnasrama Dharma is to feed the Shudras. Why? If you don't, they'll come and kill you and eat your cow. But if you feed the Shudras nice prasadam from the Jagannath temple, they'll work very nicely because they don't want to kill the cow. They want to eat and live and have their children and teach them to read from Krishna book and stuff like that. So that's possible. So let's forget about caste system. Let's forget about all those things. In the Daiva Varnasrama Dharma, we'll have divisions amongst persons who are all initiated devotees. So everyone will be equal. The Brahmin will be equal to the Vaishya, to the Shudra, to the everyone, to the Kshatriya. They'll all be equal because all Dvija, all first initiation devotees, Diksha, having Diksha. Then after that, they can divide up and do what sort of work they like to do. Not forced by caste. What do you want to do? What do you like? Oh, I like plowing. Okay, you be a Shudra and go to the Vaishya and say, I want to plow. The Vaishya will hand you a plow. You plow the ground and he'll throw the special hybrided grains that he's developed carefully over generations into the soil. And then another Shudra can come in and pack the soil on top. And a third Shudra can come in and irrigate with water. So that way everybody's busy and working hard. And the Shudra can go to the temple and wash the floor of the temple, wash the cooking pots at the temple. And nobody has to have a stove. Nobody has to eat at home. You go to the temple 5 times a day, want to eat 5 times a day? Do it. Go to the temple, eat 5 times a day for free, no money. And you want clothes for free, no money. You want to have a house to sleep in or have a big house divided up into rooms, you know, like a lodge? Fine, for free, no money. So in that way, then everybody is living from each according to his ability, and then to each or for each member according to what he needs. That is the perfection. And that's what Prabhupada wants. And if you want to do it, please do. Either create it or join it, but somehow this is what's needed right now. And otherwise, needed is, this is a great way of saving thousands of people in one chunk. When I say thousands, not millions. I'm talking about maybe 2,000, 5,000 to begin with. Start each community self-sufficient. Make it each one 5,000 people in it, or 4,000, 2,000. Not more than you can handle without a police department. And no money. You don't need money. Everything is given to the deity. You don't even trade back and forth like a village market. No need to. Take it to the temple, give it to the deity. The Brahmins will make sure everyone gets what they need. If there's a scarcity, everyone will get less. If there's an abundance, everyone will get more. So that's the way it is when you have a truly communal society. And that is Daiva Varnasrama. But aside from that, we must dedicate ourselves. We have to listen to Prabhupada. What does he want to accomplish by creating the ISKCON movement? We ask ourselves that. And the answer comes out of the sky, like a voice from the skies. The people here in the Vedas, you get so many voices from the sky. The voice from the sky says, everyone should go back to Godhead. What is Prabhupada's purpose on coming to Earth? What to speak of India, America, anywhere else? Back to home, back to Godhead. That's what he wants everyone to do. And what should we do? Oh, I want to become a Brahmin. Oh, I want to get a nice job. Oh, I want to have a nice kids and children and wife and all those good things. I want to have money in the bank too. No, why not just simply say, I have only one desire. I read 2 pages of Prabhupada's books, and he said there, I happen to read, I want everyone to go back to Godhead. Every jiva in the golden age of Kali on planet Earth, I want them all, each one to go back to Godhead. So I only read 2 pages of Prabhupada's books, but I concluded from that, he's my master, and I accept his being my master. Therefore, I say, I want everybody on earth to go back to Godhead, and wherever I go, with whomever I speak, I will discuss that very thing. Chant Hare Krishna, but tell people, don't try to go to God. Don't try to go to heaven. Don't try to become liberated. Don't try to be better than your neighbor. Don't try to be this, that, or the other thing. Deliver everyone from birth and death by chanting Hare Krishna. And I'm talking about animals and vegetables, trees, plants, not just, snails, maggots, fish. We can, everybody, we tell, go back to Godhead. Even some of the humans may want to go back to Godhead. So we'll include them also. You humans, you want to go back to Godhead? Oh, yeah. I want to be delivered. Oh, yeah. Do you want everyone to go back to Godhead? No. What do you want? Just me. And I said, okay, if you want me, why not include everybody and you'll automatically go back to Godhead? For instance, I used to cook for many people. Sometimes I'd cook easily for 100 people for dinner. And then I would say, I was raised in great poverty. We hardly had so many days when we had nothing to eat, or very little to eat, on a farm where we had nothing. no refrigerators, nothing, no indoor plumbing, just latrines like India's countryside. And I was always worried, how am I going to eat? Will I eat more, or will my brother get the best pieces? And my father and mother, they have to eat because they're making the money. I had to think like that. When I came to the conclusion, no, I will cook for 100 people. And if 100 people come, I'm sure there'll be something left after they've eaten for me to eat. And it will be plenty, not a little bit. You see? So that's what we do. We want to deliver everybody. And if we deliver everybody, if you want everyone to go back to Godhead, including all the animals and some of the humans and everything like that, good, say it. I want everyone to go back to Godhead. If you can say that, you're my friend. Then, if you do that, you will also go back to Godhead very quickly, far faster than the guy who says, I want my own bhakti, I want my own salvation, I want to chant all day long so that I will die and go back to Godhead, and everybody else can go, do what to themselves. Not my interest. I'm not interested in what they have to say for themselves. I just want to do it for me. Okay, you'll go back to Godhead. There's no question. But it will take a lot longer that way than if you want to deliver everybody else to go back to Godhead. Okay, is that all right?
Devnil Prabhu, how do you have any more questions?
That was very insightful from Narana.
Did you like that, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, it was very informative. I got to know that Varnasrama Dharma is not the ultimate thing that we are aiming
You
for.
don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So
5,000 years ago, it mattered. Since Chaitanya, it doesn't matter.
now let's talk about Fiji
Hoy,
now.
suchi hoy, suchi hoy, muchi hoy. Whoever is low will become high. Whoever is high can fall down and become low.
So in Fiji, that temple you're staying in is in Lotoka?
Yes, Prabhu, but I'm not living in the temple. Like it's not very far from my place. Sri
Acha.
Krishna Kala temple.
Acha, when was the temple established? 1971.
Really?
Yeah,
3 years after I was
1974, I
initiated.
guess.
Who is that? Who opened the temple?
No, when was it established? Devnil Prabhu, do you know? What year? 1970 what? 1975? 1976?
That's a very hard question.
Huh? You don't know, huh? When it was established?
So who opened the temple? Who's the sannyasi?
Is the Kanti Punja family? Mr. Punja and his family. They own like part of the business in Fiji. Still a lot of business running here.
Okay. So,
Vasudev Punja.
So when Prabhupada was transiting in going to another country, I think it was Australia, he met with devotees and Vasudev Punja and his wife, they came to Srila Prabhupada and Prabhupada said, you're Indian, why you should read the Bhagavad Gita, chant Hare Krishna and open a temple. So then Vasudev Punja got together with his brothers and then they started collecting money and they started the temple. Prabhupada gave him the order, do you have a Radha Krishna temple here? And then Prabhupada
they also opened Krishna Kaliya temple.
Yes, Krishna Kaliya temple. So on the first meeting with Srila Prabhupada while he was transiting, they came with a big plate of prasadam and offered it to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada gave him instruction to chant Hare Krishna, read Bhagavad Gita, and then make a temple for Radha Krishna. So that's how they did it. And that was the first temple in Fiji. I think got established 1976 or 77, just before Srila Prabhupada left or right after or during that time. Yashoda
Yes,
Nandana.
it was somewhere around Srila Prabhupada's departure.
Okay, yeah, somewhere. Okay. So just about before he left or just after he left the temple.
Prabhus, can I ask a question?
Yes.
What would you think about for the farm project? What if we did it in Alachua? Because there's lots and lots of devotees there that I know would be interested in having free place to live in exchange for labor.
That's a good question.
But wouldn't you agree that first we have to know, the structure. We put up the structure. It's like you put a thing, you write out all the rules, nail it to the wall, and people come and read it and say, I like that. Other people come and says, I don't like it. So whoever likes it, they can take part. You know?
Yeah, that's also good. I mean,
We
Alachua does
to
have a
the
lot of devotees.
standards up and about so people can see what they're getting into. Because just having people come and join will just make a social situation.
Right.
They'll say, well, I want my own house. I want to own my house. I want to have my television. I want to have my car. Well, come on. No, we don't make a simple living, plain living, high thinking, no car. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't want to do it anymore. Oh, what about my television? My kids can watch Netflix. No, what Netflix?
Because there's a woman there named Jwalamukhi Kopeka. She's an absolute warrior for truth and justice because she was of the Gurukuli generation that was sexually abused and tortured by senior ISKCON devotees who were pedophiles.
Right.
And so she has been through a lot.
Is Rupa Manjari talking?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
talking about Jwalamukhi Kopeka. She's a leading Gurukuli who's beautiful in every sense of the word. And she went through a living hell as a child. She was, are you guys familiar with satanic ritual abuse?
No.
Oh, you're talking about Lake Huntington now.
I'm talking about satanic ritual abuse where they use Satanist torture on young children to fuel their activities. And
it's done by some of the top industrialists in this country. I met
and she's been through it. Let me finish.
Daughter of one of the heads of.
Can I finish my point?
I muted him. Go ahead. You finish your point.
So she was sexually tortured as a very young child, and it really messed her up for many years. But then she kind of got clarity. She turned to Krishna for help. And now she's publishing videos of herself talking about it. And she's so clear and she's so honest about everything that it's amazing. So I'm right now, I'm friends with her. And I'm talking to her about if I could have a phone call conversation with her. I offered to pay her $108 just to talk on the phone with her. That's how much I respect her. And like to tell her what we've been up to and what we're trying to do, and see maybe if she would be interested in partnering with us to open our first farm in Alachua.
Well, why in Alachua?
She's incredible.
Is she married?
She's married. She has children. She's absolutely respected by everyone. And she posts stuff online, totally debunking the coronavirus, totally debunking all kinds of things. And she's just doing this out of the goodness and kindness of her heart,
Well, I'd like to be online and read what she writes too.
You should add her as a friend. She's a Gurukuli. Rasikananda, Kuva's buddy that came to our house a couple times. Remember him?
Yes.
He is her brother.
Oh, she was living in Mayapur.
I don't know if she was living in Mayapur.
She was in Mayapur when I was there. She was there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
so
isn't that the same? You're talking about Rasikananda. You're talking about the guy that wrecked my harmonium, right?
He stayed in our apartment on National for a few days. Remember?
More than a few days, but he did. Yes.
Yeah, that's her brother.
Yeah, I know all about it.
And it happened to him too, and it happened to all three of the kids. So she's speaking out about it, and people are like criticizing her. Oh, you have no proof, this type of shit. And but she's still speaking her truth.
Satanic ritual, you mean within Krishna consciousness?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
where was this taking place?
I don't know the details, but I'm making friends with her. I just tonight asked her, could I please pay you to talk to me on the phone?
I think she must be related to that psychic lady that we used to consult with.
Yeah. Kamara was her teacher, but I think hopefully she's past that because Kamara's a quack.
Yeah. So the Kamala was talking about how Bhavananda people, like Huntington was where Lakshmi Moni had a thing, and they claim I'm not convinced it's true, but they claim that they were doing satanic sort of rituals there, and they come to.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it all depends. If she went through it, she went through it. So I'd rather hear from her than come.
She's a survivor. She's a
Kamala.
survivor. Go on her Facebook and add her and scroll through her posts and find where she has videos of herself talking about the abuse.
Okay, so what's your Facebook address?
Do you have a pen?